My mom smirked in front of everyone and said, "No wonder you're still single at 35. Perla, no man would ever choose you." My cousins burst into laughter. My aunts shook their heads, and even my younger sister covered her mouth to hide her grin. My chest burned with humiliation. But what none of them knew was that just 3 months earlier, I had walked down the aisle in a secret wedding that would flip their world upside down. Before I continue, make sure you hit that subscribe button, share this story, and stay until the end, because what's about to happen will leave you speechless. I tried to force a smile, but my mom's words echoed like knives. My uncle leaned in and whispered loud enough for the room to hear, "Perla, maybe it's time you accept that some women just aren't meant for love." Laughter rippled across the room. My fist tightened under the table, but I stayed quiet. That's what they expected, the quiet, unlucky Perla who never spoke up. But they had no idea that the man I married wasn't just anyone. He was someone they all knew, someone they admired, someone who had the power to destroy their cruel laughter in seconds. I could already picture the look on their faces when the truth finally slipped out. The tension in the room grew sharper as my mom raised her glass and said, "To Perla, may she find happiness in her books and cats since love clearly passed her by." The room erupted again in cruel chuckles. My hand shook, not from weakness but from the weight of the secret I was holding. And then, right as I opened my mouth to respond, the door behind me creaked open. I froze as the sound of the door swinging open echoed through the room. Every head turned. My mom frowned, irritated that her perfect roast moment was interrupted. And then, he stepped inside. Tall, confident, dressed in a sharp suit that screamed success. My husband Ethan, the man they thought I could never have. My heart raced as his eyes locked on mine, but no one else in that room had a clue who he was to me. The room fell silent, whispers breaking out like tiny sparks. "Who's that?" my cousin muttered. My aunt squinted, then gasped, "Isn't that Ethan Parker? The investment tycoon?" Suddenly, the same people who were mocking me moments ago sat straighter, fixing their clothes, desperate to look important. My mom's smug grin melted into confusion. Ethan walked over, every step heavy with authority. He placed his hand gently on my shoulder, an intimate move that made my sister's eyes widen. My mother's wine glass nearly slipped from her hand. "Perla," Ethan said warmly, "I've been looking everywhere for you. Why didn't you tell me the dinner started already?" The air cracked with tension. My uncle's jaw dropped. My cousin whispered, "Wait. He knows her?" My sister bit her lip, jealousy burning in her eyes. My mom forced out a laugh. "Perla, you know him?" she stammered. I tilted my head, enjoying the shock spreading across their faces like wildfire. "Yes, Mom," I said softly. "We've known each other for quite some time." Ethan smirked, then kissed my cheek right in front of everyone. Gasps filled the room. My mom blinked rapidly, trying to recover her composure. But you said you were single. You've never even brought a man home." Her voice cracked, panic hiding behind fake concern. I leaned back in my chair, letting the power shift sink in. "There are a lot of things you don't know about me, Mom." My sister slammed her fork down. "This doesn't make sense. A man like him, with her? She's lying. This is a joke." Her voice shook, but her jealousy dripped like venom. Ethan chuckled, sliding his arm around my shoulder. "A joke? I don't think so. In fact..." He reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out his wedding ring and sliding it back on in front of everyone. "I'd say we've been keeping this quiet long enough." The room exploded. My aunt started whispering frantically, my uncle nearly choked on his drink, and my mom's face turned pale. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. And just when the shock was at its peak, Ethan turned to her and said with a calm but deadly tone, "Mrs. Lopez, I think it's time you start treating your daughter with the respect she deserves. Because she's not just your daughter anymore. She's my wife." The room went silent. You could hear the clock ticking. And then my mom dropped her glass, shattering it on the floor. The sound of glass shattering echoed like thunder, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear flash across my mom's eyes. She bent down quickly, pretending to clean the shards, but everyone could see her hands trembling. My cousins sat frozen, their jaws hanging open, while my sister's face twisted with rage. "This has to be fake," she snapped, her voice louder than before. "He's just playing some sick game. Perla doesn't deserve someone like him." Ethan didn't even flinch. He straightened his tie, his calm confidence making her words sound childish. "Funny thing," he said slowly. "You all laughed at Perla for years, treating her like she was nothing. But what you didn't realize is that while you mocked, she was building. While you doubted, she was growing. And while you whispered behind her back, she was already winning." The words sliced through the room. My uncle shifted uncomfortably, my aunts exchanged nervous glances, and my mom finally stood up, trying to recover her dominance. "Enough!" she barked. "You can't just walk in here and humiliate me in my own house. This family doesn't tolerate secrets." I looked straight at her, my voice steady but sharp. "Secrets? You mean like the way you told everyone I was a failure behind my back? Or how you mocked me at every family dinner just to make yourself look bigger? You wanted me to stay small, Mom, but you never noticed I stopped needing your approval a long time ago." The color drained from her face, but my sister pounced like a vulture sensing blood. "So what?" she hissed. "Even if you're married, you're still broke. You've got nothing. You're just—" She stopped mid-sentence when Ethan pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, and placed it on the table. A hush fell as the screen lit up with a news article. The headline read, "Tech startup acquired in multi-million-dollar deal. CEO Perla Lopez steps into the spotlight." My cousins gasped. My uncle's fork clattered against his plate. My sister's jaw locked tight. Ethan grinned. "Guess you didn't know. Perla isn't just my wife. She's also the brilliant mind behind a company that just sold for more money than all of you combined could dream of. She didn't tell you because she didn't need your validation. She has something none of you ever gave her, self-respect and real success." The silence was deafening. My mom finally sank into her chair, her lips quivering. You never told me," she whispered, almost as if talking to herself. I leaned forward, my voice low but strong. "Why would I? You never cared to listen. You only cared to laugh." My sister's nails dug into the table, her face twisted in fury. "You're lying," she spat. "There's no way she could build something like that. Tell me the truth, Ethan. She tricked you, didn't she?" Ethan's expression hardened. He reached for my hand, interlacing his fingers with mine, and looked straight at her. "If anyone's been tricked here, it's you. You all believed Perla was weak, but the truth is, she's stronger than all of you put together." Gasps echoed around the table, but before anyone could respond, the doorbell rang. Loud, sharp, and perfectly timed. Everyone froze. My mom swallowed hard, glancing nervously toward the door. And deep down, I already knew. The next surprise would break them even more. The doorbell rang again, louder this time, echoing through the tense silence like a countdown before an explosion. My mom hesitated, her face pale as if she already feared what was coming. Finally, she forced a smile and motioned for my cousin to open it. The door swung wide, and in walked 3 men in tailored suits carrying sleek black briefcases. "Good evening," the tallest one said firmly. "We're here for Mrs. Perla Lopez." Every head whipped toward me. My mom blinked, confused. "Wait, for her?" she asked, her voice shaking. The man nodded, pulling out a folder. "We represent a group of investors who've just signed a major partnership with her company. We're here to finalize the documents she requested and deliver the first installment of funds." He set the briefcase on the dining table and clicked it open, revealing rows of neatly stacked contracts and a cashier's check with more zeros than most of my relatives had ever seen in their lives. Gasps erupted around the table. My uncle nearly toppled his chair. My sister's eyes bulged, and my mom clutched her chest as though she couldn't breathe. The man continued. "Perla, once these are signed, your account will be credited with $25 million tonight. The rest will be transferred in quarterly installments as agreed." For a moment, no one spoke. Then my aunt, who had been smirking at me earlier, whispered, "$25 million? Tonight?" Her fork slipped from her fingers, clattering to the floor. My mom shook her head violently, refusing to believe it. No, this has to be a mistake. My daughter doesn't have this kind of money. She can't. Her voice cracked, desperation bleeding through her pride. I turned to her, my voice sharp but calm. You were too busy laughing at me to notice the work I was putting in. You mocked me for not dating, for not living like everyone else. But I was busy building something you couldn't even imagine. My sister slammed her hands on the table. This is insane. If she really had all this, why didn't she tell us? Why didn't she? Because she doesn't owe you anything, Ethan cut in coldly. His voice carried so much weight that my sister immediately fell silent. The investor slid the contracts toward me. Shall we? He asked. I picked up the pen, my hand steady, and signed every page with confidence. Every stroke of ink felt like justice. When I was finished, the man shook my hand and handed me the check. My relative's eyes followed it like hungry vultures circling prey. My mom's lips trembled. Perla, sweetheart, maybe I was a little harsh. You know, I was just joking earlier. I didn't mean any of it. Family is family, right? Her sudden softness almost made me laugh. Family? I repeated, tilting my head. Family doesn't laugh at you, humiliate you, and tell you that you'll never be loved. Family doesn't treat you like trash for years. You only want me now because of what I have. She opened her mouth to protest, but before she could, Ethan dropped another bomb. Actually, he said calmly, we're hosting a gala tomorrow night to celebrate Perla's success. Everyone who supported her will be there. He let the words hang in the air before adding, but I don't see any of you on the guest list. The silence that followed was brutal. My mom's face twisted in panic. My sister turned red with rage. My uncle muttered something under his breath, too ashamed to meet my eyes. And just when the room was drowning in tension, the youngest cousin, barely 18, spoke up. His voice was small but clear. Perla, can I come? I always believed in you. I never laughed. Everyone turned to him. My heart softened for a moment, but before I could answer, my mom shot him a glare and hissed, Shut up! The control she once had was slipping, and I could see it breaking her from the inside. But I wasn't done yet. Because the biggest twist, the one that would shatter everything they thought they knew, was still waiting. The room was heavy with silence, so thick it almost felt like the walls themselves were listening. My mother sat stiff in her chair, gripping the edge of the table as though it might anchor her sinking pride. My sister's nails scraped against the wood, her rage boiling over, while the rest of the family shifted uncomfortably. Caught between disbelief and envy, I placed the check back into the briefcase and closed it with a sharp click. You all think tonight is the big revelation, I said slowly, letting my words hang in the air. But the truth is, this isn't even the half of it. Confusion swept across their faces. Ethan leaned forward, resting his hand on mine, his smirk telling me he already knew where I was going. I stood, my chair scraping against the floor, and looked around the table, at every relative who had mocked me, dismissed me, or treated me like I was nothing. You see, I continued, my voice steady, the wedding wasn't the only secret. And the company you just learned about? That's not the only thing I've been working on, my sister scoffed, rolling her eyes. Oh, please. What's next? You're secretly the president? Her sarcasm earned a few nervous chuckles, but those died the second I pulled out another folder from my bag. I slid it across the table. This, I said, is the deed to this house. And guess whose name is on it now? My mom's hand shot forward, ripping the folder open. Her eyes scanned the paper, and the color drained from her face. No, she whispered, her voice breaking. This house is mine. It's all I have. I leaned closer, my words cutting sharper than any knife. Not anymore. You fell behind on your payments months ago. The bank was ready to take it. I bought it. And now, Mom, you're sitting in my dining room. Gasps erupted around the table like fireworks. My uncle cursed under his breath. My sister shot up from her seat, pointing at me like a madwoman. You're lying! This is all fake. You can't... Ethan cut her off with a laugh that chilled the air. Fake? Everything's public record. Go check if you don't believe her. But trust me, she's telling the truth. And frankly, you should be grateful she hasn't thrown you all out already." My mother's lip trembled, her pride collapsing into desperation. "Perla, please," she whispered, her voice thin. "You can't do this. We're family. You wouldn't—" I straightened, my heart pounding but my voice unshakable. "You're right. We're family. But family doesn't humiliate each other. Family doesn't laugh at someone's pain. For years, you treated me like the weakest one at this table. Tonight, you'll remember me as the strongest." Tears welled in her eyes. But it was too late. The balance had shifted. The same people who once mocked me were now powerless, staring at me like they were seeing me for the first time. Ethan stood beside me, placing a hand on my back. "We should go," he said softly. I nodded. As we walked toward the door, my sister shouted after me, her voice cracking with fury. "This isn't over, Perla. You'll regret this." I paused, turning just enough to meet her glare. "The only thing I regret," I said calmly, "is wasting so many years letting you all define my worth. Those days are over, and with that I stepped out of the house, my house now, leaving behind their stunned silence." The night air felt different, freer. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the quiet, underestimated daughter. I was the woman who had turned every insult, every humiliation into power. The underdog they laughed at was gone, and in her place stood someone they could never break again.